Oh, hello, and welcome to Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. But tonight, we are not talking about just any creepypasta. No, my friends, we are talking about one of the grandfathers of creepypasta. Nay, an urban legend from the 2000s. Tonight, we are talking about Polybius. Polybius. Thank you. So yeah, we're talking about the urban legend Polybius, which in its own right is basically a founding father of creepypastas, or like those kind of like haunted video game urban legend, or mysterious video game urban legends. So we'll just kind of do a quick rundown of the urban legend itself. This is going to be a little bit different from our usual episodes. If you've listened to any of our episodes where we have like Adam and Travis from the Role-Playing Exchange, or
Any SCP.
any of the SCPs, yeah. It's going to be more of a kitchen episode than a Grammar Inquisition and actual thoughts kind of thing like that. Basically, we're going to be brainstorming some ideas on like how you can make this into use this as fodder for creepypasta or stories.
We're not sitting down at the table enjoying the finished pasta.
No, we're
in the kitchen.
We're in the kitchen
making
now.
the pasta.
Yeah, exactly. Like figuring out what we want to make. It's 3 a.m. We're hungry.
Yeah.
And all we got is Polybius. We got to see what we can make with Polybius.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a really good analogy.
There you go.
So yeah, it's Polybius. If you're not in the know, is a fictitious arcade game. The urban legend itself kind of started in the early 2000s. But the story itself takes place much earlier than that, in 1981. According to the legend, in 1981, some arcade cabinets were popping up in suburbia in Portland, Oregon. And kids were like lining up around the building basically to play this game, Polybius. It was like really, like they just got really addicted to it. And it also started giving them like weird like side effects like hallucinations, sleep apnea, or like not sleep apnea, insomnia and night terrors and such like that. Even a few kids supposedly even died as a result of it. And after about a month, the arcades were visited by G-Men, or the Men in Black, and these arcade cabinets were quickly removed and vanished from public eye.
Well, you missed the part. The MIB essentially showing up. They didn't show up to take it away. They were showing up constantly during it being there to take data from it.
Yes. Yeah. Supposedly, yeah, they were tampering with it or tinkering with it. And then eventually they were taken away. Like the cabinets were taken away. That's basically the urban legend, is that there's this weird cabinet that happened in 1981. Mm-hmm. People were getting like sick and weird like things from it, like psychotropic kind of things. Mm-hmm. And then the government was tampering with them, or like it was like linked to the government, and then they vanished. And then that was basically the legend.
Yeah, it disappeared in a month.
Yeah. Over the years, some people have come up and like said that, like I was a programmer for the game, and it was a secret government social experiment kind of thing like that. Mm. The company supposedly for the game was called Sinus Eocean, which basically is a rough German translation of sense deprivation or sensory deprivation. And
I think the direct translation is sense delete.
Yes, sense delete, but it basically represents that. And it's actually not even really like an actual German like kind of thing. It's like a German. It's an idiomatic. To reference writer Brian Dunning, it is not quite idiomatic German, which basically like somebody Google translated it.
Well, somebody took two German words,
and
smashed them together, assuming that that's how compound words work in German.
Exactly. Which, you've ever used. I'm 100% guilty of doing that kind of thing for like fantasy and sci-fi names. So
yeah, it works for coming up with names like that.
Yeah. So the real story behind this, or the real background behind this legend, is that it did not happen in 1981, but it actually started in 2000 when the founder of here it goes. When the creator of coinop.org basically registered a copyright date for 1981 for a game called Polybius on their website, and kind of started the legend from there. They got a couple of gaming magazines at the time to like put out an article or two for this thing, and given like the conspiracy theory like obsession that people had at the time, basically it caught wildfire and spread that way. Like, what is this a real game, or like what's up with this Polybius game kind of thing? And then like basically stories started circulating across the internet. As far as anybody can tell, it's basically kind of like was some kind of like promotional like tactic to get more traffic to the website CoinOp. But it ultimately ended up founding an urban legend like that people still cling to today. Like multiple people have made versions of the game like based off the descriptions and such as emulators and ROMs, and even for like actual products like on Steam and stuff, and even like there's a PS4 game.
Yeah, PSVR.
Yeah. PSVR Polybius for PlayStation 4.
Yeah. There's one that you can download for PC.
Yeah. Have you tried it?
I went to the link, but I didn't bother trying to install it.
I may have played it.
Did you?
A lot. Maybe.
How is it? Like,
well,
let's have you on that. So, explain.
Why are you putting me on the spot?
Because this is the show. We talk. We discuss.
Oh, right. Sorry, I forgot. Amnesia. That's one of the symptoms.
Insomnia, too.
Who are you? I'm really tired, honestly. I've been staying up for days. But yeah, hang on, let me get to my notes I wrote down on that. I thought I wrote down notes on that.
It was hallucination.
Oh, this is weird.
Right, let's see, we have insomnia.
I got a headache, man.
Hallucinate migraines.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're waiting for you. I'll go.
There it is.
Okay, cool.
I did find it. So, essentially what I wrote down is it's an assault on the senses, basically. At least the further you go into it, which is something I normally find annoying, but it's kind of still fun, and it works in this, oddly enough. Maybe it's the legend attached to it, or just the fact that I've been playing a little fucking week. A little bit. But, like, it's weird, because there's a space station in the middle of the screen. And there's numbers around it. They're all the same number.
Okay, before you start, we should probably mention, like, in the urban legend, they do describe it as kind of being like Tempest.
Yes.
And those kind of games, except graphically intense.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a space shooter, and it's all vector graphics, so it's all really clean.
Yeah.
So spaceship in the middle. It has a number of balls around it. I don't remember. And they all have a number on them. And your spaceship is to the right of your screen, and your controls are left, right, forward, back, and shoot. But, like, you don't move the ship. The ship stays there all the time. Mm-hmm. When you go left, it's turning the space station around left and right. But, like, technically you would be going around it. Yeah. But on the screen, you're stationary. It's very strange. And then forward, back is get closer and further away. And it's sending out all these little polygonal enemies against you. Some of them shoot. Some of them just circle around and hit you, and occasionally it shoots out these white ones that have a number on them, and you either shoot the number or touch the number. If you touch the number, you get shields back, because you can only take so many hits before you die.
Gotcha.
If you shoot the number, it goes into the space station, and if that number is divisible evenly by the numbers that are around the space station, then that's how many hit points gets put away. If it's not divisible, it adds a hit point and heals it.
Wait, so is this like an arcade version of like Math Muncher?
Kind of.
It's an educational game?
Yeah. So you have to not shoot it in when it's not evenly divisible, and instead take it as health. And, like, you get more points if it's, like, a square root of it and all that shit.
Oh, my God.
It's extremely complicated.
To be fair, like, again, like, yeah.
And that's level 1.
Yeah, that's just level 1. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because, like, the name Polybius comes from, like, the philosopher, like, the Greek philosopher Polybius, who, oddly enough, had, he worked on, like, not cryptozoology, like, basically ciphers and stuff like that, like, cryptography and stuff like that. So there's a lot of people, like, when they think of like the story of Polybius and stuff, they kind of get this like, oh, it's like there's some kind of secret message or puzzle in the game. And also reading into it like for the episode, I discovered that it was actually like the game itself and like a lot of the story elements are actually pulled from things that happened in the 80s and 90s, but were just inspiration they were used as inspiration for Polybius. Like, there were kids that were suffering from fatigue and like stomach cramps and migraines and stuff like that in arcades in Portland around that time for separate games, and because they were basically doing 24-hour like marathons of games, so like basically unhealthy gaming practices.
Yeah.
But because it was like basically the early days of gaming, it's clear the game's fault, not the people who are going crazy over it.
Well, some people just don't have the stomach for marathons like that. You know, that's how it is.
And then there were some games that were like pulled off the shelf or like were looked at by the government because they were the government was worried about, the FBI was worried about gambling in these arcades, so they were removing the high scores or like tampering with the high scores and stuff like that, tinkering with the machines. So people saw G-men in these arcades, and then a few of certain game. I can't remember what it was called. If only I had the wiki up. By the way, a lot of this is all on the wiki page for Polybius the Urban Legend, so you can go check all that stuff out there.
It's funny that back then they were so concerned about gambling, and nowadays, loot boxes. You want more loot boxes? Give us $100. We'll give you 10 of them.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Cube Quest was the game from 1983. But apparently, it was a shooting game with surreal visuals. And it was, because it was on a laser disc, a lot of it had some like issues and fault, like glitches and stuff like that, so that they had to actually recall a bunch of them. So suddenly this game that came out for like a few months suddenly was getting recalled and removed from arcades. So we had that. Also, similar thing to like, because of the G-Men, like we're checking out like the gambling or like the high scores and some of that, and like tinkering and monitoring machines, and kids were saying that, and people were seeing that, and things that was getting into the public eye. Films like The Last Starfighter apparently were like heavily inspired by that as well.
Oh, really?
Because basically, like the thing with Last Starfighter is this guy's like this bumpkin kid is playing an arcade game, and he's really good at it, and then it turns out that the arcade was planted there by aliens to recruit starfighters.
There you go.
Yeah. So that was a neat little like quirk like thing I found out about it. Also, part of the whole like kind of hoax of, or like, is it real, or like the hidden messages and trying to decipher it and stuff like that comes from a 1994. A 1994 internet mystery called the Publius Enigma, which was basically a weird. It's still unsolved as to like who did it, why, and like what happens if you crack the code kind of thing. But basically, it was a bunch of messages on a now defunct message board or internet service, like early internet service, that had to do with a hidden message in Led Zeppelin's like recent song album. And like it basically had the internet like for a short time had the internet like kind of like wondering what the hell was going on. Like, is this some kind of publicity statement? But then the band and them like said that it wasn't. Like they don't know who this was. It was some kind of independent thing. And apparently there was a prize if you figure out the message. So, and it was just interesting when I was reading that, it was like it had to have some kind of link to it because it was like it's literally called Publius Enigma.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
And it's still going on. Like no one knows what the true identity or like the true source of it was. Outside of what had happened. So, yeah, so there's that as like another kind of like add-on to like the inspiration that built up Polybius. Like, so we have like gaming issues and arcade issues and gaming incidences in the 80s. We have this internet hoax phenomenon thing in the mid 90s, and then this need to make basically to bump up some traffic by making basically a fake video game cryptid for your website. And then how that just exploded into popularity enough that like we're still talking about it in 2019 after like 19 almost 20 years later, we're still talking about Polybius.
Yeah, there's a Polybius game on a current console.
On a current console, there are like the Angry Video Game Nerd made since this will probably be posted on Halloween, we're basically just like on the coattails of Angry Video Game Nerd from but a year later.
I think it's been a couple of years.
Has it been 2 years?
It's not just 1 year.
Okay.
I'm thinking it's like
I think you're right. It's probably been like 2 or 3 years. So we're a little late to the game, but whatever. Yeah, he did an entire episode, like just kind of like for Halloween on it. Other websites and other like kind of media, like content creators have done Polybius style videos because it is just such an interesting urban legend. Mm-hmm. And again, it's kind of the grandfather of of video game creepypastas. So that's basically the kind of the background to it. Did you get past level 1 of the 2007 Polybius game?
I got to level 3. It's just it's so hard to see anything. Level 3. Level 1, it's a black background, white vector graphics. There's a spaceship in the middle, and you spin around, and there's colored guys that come after you. Great. Yeah. You kill it, and then it goes like, there's like this warp tunnel, almost like you're going through light speed, and you see different planets flying past you, and you go to level 2, where the background is like Beetlejuice-style black and white stripes everywhere, like
oh God.
As in like a cone around you. And it's like the same color as your freaking ship, so you can barely see. And then when you beat that, it seems like it's more chill after that, because it's a black background again with no crazy visuals, but the vector graphics of the background, it makes it so when you turn it, it's like turning the opposite way in a box kind of thing. So it's kind of, it has this weird sort of effect where it just kind of feels kind of
almost like trying to hit like hypnotic kind of thing.
Sort of. It feels weird though, because it feels like you're actually moving in a 3D space.
Whoa,
it's weird. And then when you beat that, the background's a fucking rainbow, like everywhere.
So it's rainbow. Is it tie-dye kind of stuff too?
It's like a wiggly rainbow of like colors fucking everywhere.
What's the music score like on the game? Is it it's completely silent?
It's dead quiet.
There's no like.
Oh, there's sound effects, but there's no music.
No music at all. Just sound. Oh god, that. Yeah. See, I can see that being kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, go back to Asteroids.
Yeah,
Asteroids just had sound effects. And...
Yeah. Pretty much.
And again, like that like just that quiet, like would definitely be unnerving for.
And all the like random subliminal messages that pop up while you're playing. Because I do see random words. I don't know what they are.
Yeah, it's like
I'm sure my brain knows.
Yeah. And again, that's another thing that they probably pulled from like They Live, like John
Snickers. Sorry, what?
Like from John Carpenter's They Live, like where it's all like subliminal messaging in our media and stuff like that. But that's also something again that we should have brought up, like on top of like the cryptography, like kind of origin or like nature of Polybius or the story anyway in the fiction. There's also supposed to be like subliminal messaging, like. Basically, the government telling us what to do through this game, or telling the youth what to do through this game, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like we got basically like theories that ranged from like creepy haunted arcade cabinet, run by the SNTF.
Oh, of course. I mean, who else?
To like a government agency that's just like playing mind games with like the populace, maybe even a secret Soviet like connection kind of thing. All that basically was just like because like the late 90s, early 2000s was like rife with conspiracy theorists, and like we just loved conspiracy theories. Some of us still do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just one of those things that like the right culmination happened. Like it was put out at the right time and the right amount of paranoia with technology from both the 80s and the early 2000s just like helped build this cult following that this fictional video game has had.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we can move on to the kitchen, see what we can make with this.
See what we can whip up in the kitchen.
Yeah, see what we can whip up in the kitchen for creepypasta goodness. I'll start, as I always do. Anyway, so we've been playing a lot of Shadowrun. Just
Shadowrun.
Kind of full disclosure, like when we're not running the podcast, we've been when we play games. It's been a lot of Shadowrun lately.
Polybius.
Yeah, and well, you've been playing Polybius, but yeah. So I may have been like kind of using some of that as to, like for some ideas for this. So technomancers and developing AI machine spirits brought about by the input. So basically, I'm mixing Tron and Shadowrun. Mm-hmm. By like basically, so like those kids playing those games, like getting issues and stuff like that, like having like weird issues. What if there was some kind of like sensors in the cabinet, like that the government installed, that while the kids were playing it and developing these like weird hallucinations and issues, it was actually siphoning in like psychic energy or some kind of like cognitive information into the game, and we end up creating some kind of like creature or something, or some kind of digital creature within Polybius.
So the game itself is like a psychic vampire.
Yeah,
of all the kids that play it.
Exactly. Yeah. And even kind of like those kids, like their issues, you can kind of have some psychic vampirism symptoms. So, and then again, like with Technomancer kind of angle of it, like maybe it installed that kind of like ability into people. So basically, say it with me, guys: magic, science, together
in the same place. Right, together. Sorry, forgot. Amnesia.
Yeah, it's fine. You've been through a lot this week.
Yeah.
I
thought this was Tuesday. It's not.
No, it isn't.
No.
My other idea is kind of a where are they now sort of idea. So it's been almost 40 years in the fiction of Polybius since these kids were affected by this. Mm-hmm. I think it might be interesting for a story, like a creepy story, if like you start in the now, or at least like when they're adults, like maybe in their 30s, like maybe you can like bring it a little bit earlier. But yeah, basically when they're adults and like see if they're still seeing things, if they're still like having to deal with the effects of Polybius,
or if every single one is gone now.
Exactly, or like yeah, like maybe one of them like goes like to see if they can find some of the other people, and they find out that they've gone missing or they've died mysteriously. Mm-hmm. So you have like kind of the government angle, like so there's that angle of it, like the branch of it, where it's like a creepy government thriller, where like with a government conspiracy there, or going back to the Technomancer thing, they've developed some kind of like psychic connection with machinery or like with digital electronics and stuff like that. And you can take this as either like them on the run again from government agents and stuff like that, or go kind of a different route, like maybe like Chronicle or like Scanners, where they are the threat now because they've developed these like powers and they've been corrupted by it. Mm. So now like they're able to fuck with machinery like Akira style, or like with like a Digimon kind of thing, or like they are like digitally in tuned with the world, and so they can like fuck up your shit. Mm-hmm. So have almost like a slasher kind of slasher flick kind of motif where
someone goes around just murdering your phone. It's like no, not my Xbox. Oh,
or using I was going to think more your machinery, like use your electronics against you.
Oh, okay. You could also do a parody slasher movie with it, though, where no one actually dies. Yeah, it's just all of their technology.
Yeah, that'll be the troll pasta.
Yeah.
Or the crappy pasta.
Or the amazing pasta.
Maybe. or the action pasta, really.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just think it could be horrifying. Like have it from like either the technoman or the person with the abilities, or like who's dealt with this, who's developed these abilities as a result of playing these games, like having them like on the run, like having it from their point of view, like dealing with all the weird hallucinations, of, like because maybe they're also developing like weird hallucinations as a result, and or have it from the angle of the other people around this person, and they are the threat.
I feel like you should work the word shadows somewhere into this because you've mentioned technomancers.
Well, they clearly have to go. They clearly have to go into the shadows.
There you go.
Escape.
Okay,
there you go.
You covered all your bases.
Cool, awesome. And my other idea for this would maybe use like puzzle or code of the game, like that nature of the game story, and get like so. There's a puzzle or like some kind of code in the game that like somebody plays it, and they solve it. And unlock this weirdly accurate and prophetic information, and some of it gets really creepy and dangerous for them. Like it's kind of like the movie 24, where like the number or like the happening. No, not the happening. No, not using the happening. Sorry, the knowing. I think is what it is. The one where like kids start receiving messages. Like for some reason they start like writing down like prophetic information of like people, like there's going to be this major like a disaster, or there's going to be this major issue that's happening, and like a lot of people are going to die, and then like that's like the last like code that they unsolve is like basically the whole world's getting wiped out, like that kind of thing, like where you get like those kind like they're like finding like they're getting like prophetic information from the game about like their lives or about like what's going to happen like in the very near future for them, and it's always accurate. So you kind of have like that kind of like Pandora's box kind of motif. Like once you've unlocked the game's like final prize, are you happy with that with what you got kind of thing? And also living on the cryptic nature of the philosopher the game takes its name from, and even borrowing from the Publius incident, which has also been suggested to be a directly inspiration for the game. So yeah, basically, my ideas for the games from a story point of view.
Put in Shadowrun.
yeah. If I was to run it, if we were also talking about like scenarios and stuff like that, I might be using some of this game, like some of the ideas from this for our Shadowrun campaign.
You kind of did in last year at TennoCon.
Oh yeah, we did do a Cthulhu. So we last year. When me and Gamer and Yellow were at Gen Con, we're at TennoCon for Warframe and stuff like that. A bunch of our friends that were there also wanted to like play some tabletop games in the hotel room, so I ran a Cthulhu Dark scenario that I kind of definitely inspired by Polybius in that it is a game that starts with a P, and it deals with a weird arcade cabinet that's screwing up reality. It's called Pax Vobis. Which Pax Vobis in Latin is peace be with you. And the game was about basically like the game that some kid was playing in this arcade cabinet was like you're trying to escape basically this like emptiness. Like you're basically it's like a side scrolling Mario like moving level like one of those Mario levels, and you're trying to get to the end before
the screen gets
before the blank screen completely. And basically, the blank screen just wipes out everything in its path. And there's like villagers and like things like that all over but it's all like an Atari style. So it's like there's like forests and stuff like that, like kind of all across.
Forests like triangles, though.
Yeah. And there's like little houses with people, and like they're trying to get in your way as well because they're all panicking, and they all vanish like as you're trying to get. It's basically like a racing kind of game. Race to the end kind of game, and that was bleeding into the real world as this kid had formed some kind of weird magical bond with the cabinet, and so as he was playing it, he was
destroying the town we were in.
Yeah, the town got locked into this like separated from reality and was slowly vanishing, like it was slowly being eaten by nothing.
It's like as if a circular wall was kind of closing in on the arcade cabinet.
Yeah, it was like a dome.
And the wall basically was like killing everything behind it.
Yeah.
Including like the ground.
Yeah, and when I think one of your characters found an aircraft to like leave, they went to escape and they went off into the beyond, and all they saw was nothing, just this like yawning blackness and like emptiness.
And technically, wouldn't we have just immediately been killed If like
No, I was having.
does it actually work like a dome?
No, so like it's what destroying everything, but like if you go over it, like get off the ground and go over it, like you're fine. You just don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say what happens because I might actually post it on like somewhere for us to like for somebody to listen to because we did record it.
Yes.
But yeah, basically it ends how you'd expect, kind of. It's like it was a disaster scenario. Basically, a disaster movie scenario. Like basically, the characters are just trying to survive and figure out what the fuck's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I drew heavy inspiration from Polybius for that scenario. Also, like for this, I don't know why, but I just kept like for the Technomancer thing specifically. It was actually not Shadowrun that I initially thought of. It was our talk about that the other system, the other internet. That like a couple of like a while ago when we were talking about that episode that creepypasta, like and how we were talking about like a Technomancer going through the wires and just when the wire gets cut, they just like ooze out like. Something like that. I don't know. I was like thinking more like that kind of stuff when I was thinking of this for like the Technomancer stuff. But then again, we've been playing Shadowrun, so
understandable.
Yeah, and again, the whole like idea of like using like there's something supernatural about the cabinet. Although in the story in creepypasta, like I know a lot of other RPG podcasts and stuff like that who have used Polybius make it supernatural, but there's really nothing in the story overtly supernatural. It's,
overtly supernatural.
No, it very covertly supernatural, if anything. Or it's just like again like creepy mind games that the government is like planning. Like it's like subliminal messaging and like technology is the evil in this. Not so much any kind of magic. Although you could add that because there's also like the Satanic Panic and tons of stories coming out of the 80s. And 90s about like supernatural stuff like mixed with technology. So yeah, that's the stuff I've got. So Mikey, what did you come up with for Polybius?
All right. So the first one I have written down here is more of a sort of a day in the life of the player who plays the game and then strange things occur.
So like shortly after playing the game.
Yeah, and then they continue playing the game and more strange things occur. And then one day they go back to the arcade, it's not there, but and nobody remembers because they have amnesia.
Yeah, but does he still have like kind of an addiction to it? So like he's starts craving to play the game too, but like he has to find it now.
Yeah,
that could be like again like that could actually be a really interesting story that. Also, like on top of like being connected to like having like being tied to Polybius urban legend, also tackles like a commentary on like addiction and like gambling. Like you need your fix basically, and so like what horrific things will you go to do to find your fix again? Yeah,
my first one's basically the same thing you just said.
Yeah,
essentially like journal entry style, showing like the spiral of insanity of this dude. That either ends in this dude's potential suicide because that's one of the outcomes, or him like kicking the addiction and he has a journal up online as like a warning.
Yeah, like he found this like maybe So like, would you place that in the 80s or would you place that in the here and now, like in like present day? Like maybe the kid found some really old like arcade like alcove in like some like derelict like swimming pool like arena or something like that. I'm literally pulling from like actual like real life because we used to have nearby an old swimming pool like rec center that had like a little like arcade alcove, and like they just find that, and then like one day that place just gets renovated to be a house, and like the arcades are all gone.
Well, if you set it in the 1980s, then you can stick to the canon. Which is only sticked around for about a month.
Yeah.
So basically, it's suddenly gone.
And now the kid like tries playing other games, but it's just not the same as playing Polybius.
And then
in 2007, when the free one comes out, then he just loses his fucking mind there. Plays it constantly.
Oh shit! Yeah, it could be that. Like just basically like that. He just like the last entry is just him losing himself to the game. Like I'm just gonna put
it's like constantly plays it until he dies, just sitting there.
Yeah, the next entry in like that would just be like a newspaper clipping.
Yeah,
of just like man dies in from
video game kills man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like those newspaper articles were happening in the early to mid 2000s. Like I remember working. I remember like seeing in the newspaper like a kid in Korea or Vietnam or something like that. They died from like 42 hours of just playing a game or something like that. Like because they just died of exhaustion and not eating.
Yeah,
because they were so obsessed with the game. It created a small video game scare. No, it was World of Warcraft killed him. Like 'cause he was playing WoW, like without eating or sleeping. So he just basically just had had cardiac arrest because his body just finally gave out after like 48 hours or longer.
Yeah. That's why you get cybernetics to just
clearly
handle those functions for you.
I mean, at the same time though, that decreases your essence, and like then you have to deal with the existential conundrum of like every part you remove, every part you that's the song. Every part you remove, it takes a little bit of your humanity, and like if you take enough off, like are you going to just be like a robot, a soulless robot? What were we talking about?
I don't remember.
Shadowrun?
Who are you?
Alright. So, the next one, which is one that I just thought of.
Oh, cool. I love those spontaneous creations.
Is where the arcade unit is actually a member of the Supernatural Task Force.
The unit itself.
Yes.
Of course.
I blame myself for mentioning the SNTF earlier.
Yep.
What the device is actually doing is giving people that play it good luck. So that when people go and gamble, they're winning tons of money.
Ooh.
And that's why the Men in Black are investigating it, because they're like, they think there's some sort of gambling ring going on.
Okay, question with the SNTF4. Is it like Delta Green, where they have an antagonistic government force against them, called in like MEPIC, or not MEPIC, Majestic 12? Because in Delta Green, the RPG, there's Delta Green, which fights the Mythos, and then there's Majestic 12, which is also part of the government, or like the main government like antagonist in the 90s that like was opposed to Delta Green because they wanted to collect and use the Mythos. So does the SNTF have like a Majestic 12 agency within the government, the U.S. government, that is like actively trying to either basically like steal some of their agents for their side, or like trying to like basically like get one over on them? Because I imagine the SNTF is a global agency, whereas they have to deal with like independent country like agencies as well, right?
Yeah.
Or is the SNTF...
I'm pretty sure we brought it up in every creepypasta, which means that it has to be everywhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, or is it specifically just a Canadian agency?
Spawned in Canada, but its reach is worldwide.
Oh, clearly. Okay.
Yeah.
So it does have antagonistic? It basically doesn't have enemies in other agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, but that's classified to your
my clearance.
Yeah, your clearance level right now.
Fair enough. Yes. But so for the story though, like so the Polybius machine is alive as a member of the. Is it like Johnny Five? It's alive.
Johnny Five.
Oh my god. And yeah, so basically, it works for the SNTF to like help people get gambling or get good at gambling, and as a result, the FBI. So who's the villain here? Like, because like gambling isn't all that great, guys. Like, is he actually a rogue agent for the SNTF, or is like the SNTF pulling the strings on that? Like,
he's an anti-hero.
Yeah. The villain is the corrupt casinos.
Okay, so he's been like, he's
trying to take all the money.
He's been snatched by like some like evil like casino corporation to like get kids and youths into gambling early, so that they can go. And that's why the FBI in cohort with the SNTF are trying to find this rogue agent?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll go with that, sure.
I'm trying to help build the scenario here because, like, yeah, you really don't want to have like, oh yeah, he creates good luck and it's for gambling. It's like it's so good, guys, but because that's not a really good thing.
But he only gives good luck in regards to gambling to people who need it. Maybe.
Okay.
So it's like people that are down their luck and like they're have a real hard time. He can help them get back on their feet, but they can't overuse him because then they get knocked back down.
Yeah, maybe that's the reward. Like after you like beat a certain part of the level or like beat the game, is you get good luck. But and like initially, it's kind of like the best laid plan, or the road to hell is paved with the best intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Like it did this to like help people like get on their feet and stuff like that. But eventually, they ran into a number of people who were playing the game to get good luck, so they could go gamble, and that jumped on the FBI's watch list, and that's why they were investigating the game.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Okay. And then we just need a bunch of precocious teenagers and kids to with bikes, of course, to
and boomboxes
to throw the machine onto like a wagon or something like that, and just try and escape the FBI.
And surprisingly do so.
A la E.T.
Yeah.
Yes. So
another question: does the in your canon here, or in your story here, does Polybius is it completely robotic synthetic like thing, or is it like the machine cancer thing where it's like got in its inner workings, it's actually partially biological. It's a biomechanical construct. Like, was it once a technomancer that mutated into a cabinet?
You have to make it Shadowrun, don't you?
Technomancers are not solely Shadowrun.
Uh-huh. That being said, yes, right.
Maybe.
I'm just going to go the supernatural route.
So yes? Because I can go either way. Like, if it's biomechanical or if it's, like, just a ghost in the machine. Like, is it a ghost in the machine?
Well, if it's a ghost in the machine or biomechanical, you assume that it has some form of consciousness.
Yes. Are you not? Is that not the case? Is it just, or is it like?
Is it just a machine that's programmed to give people good luck?
Yeah, like is it just so it doesn't have a mind of its own? It's actually just an SCP. It's like an SCP artifact where it's
how is it hired by the SNTF then?
Hey, that's what I was trying to.
I was expecting you to like wobble into like a staff meeting with a name tag on.
Hey, Polly. Yeah.
Beep boop.
Click, click.
No, he only speaks in beeps and boops.
Yeah. No, I mean like when it's like movies like kaplunk.
Yes.
But it's like a gonk droid. Oh yeah, is it like a gonk droid where like it just like shirks down, like removes its feet like transform back into its body, like but then when it goes to move, it just like the feet extend out and it's like gonk.
Totally.
Yes.
Just to add on to the silly 80s references.
Mm-hmm.
You can still make this horrifying, like terrifying.
Sure you can.
Yeah. All right. The next one that I have is that you could make this more of an SCP entry.
Yeah.
Where it's agents investigating the Polybius machine and they come back multiple times with different people because they just can't figure out what's going on. And then eventually somebody figures it out and then they put it into quarantine.
Yeah. I'm actually quickly Googling right now if SCP made one based off of the Polybius game.
I Googled, and the closest I could find was SCP-1881.
Is that an arcade cabinet with human parts?
No.
Nope.
No.
Oh, is it SCP-034? Because there's an
SCP-1881.
It's probably the number you just said.
SCP-034 is Polybius cabinet.
Huh.
I don't believe you.
It's right there. It's on SCP Foundation Classic. So it might have been removed, or like it might have been. It might not actually be like a current status SCP, but it looks like the SCP website.
Discovered in an abandoned arcade in Portland, Oregon in '81.
So it's just
A similar game to Tempest.
Oh, it killed all the people, so that's why it was abandoned.
it just oh my god. So SCP-034 from SCP Foundation Classic. I'll leave a link in the description. Yeah, there is an SCP for it, but yeah, that doesn't change the fact that you can tell a story with that SCP entry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Black Arcade Cabinet attempts to contact Ed Rotberg of the company of Sinol. I always think it's Sinistal, like Sinislotion or Sinis-Eocean.
It's a word that we are not programmed to pronounce correctly.
Yeah, because we do not speak German, even in the slightest. Huh. But yeah, so anyway, that's interesting. Sorry, what was the SCP that you found, though? That was, like, kind of based off of it?
Well, it was just an arcade cabinet that, when you played it, it would play one of multiple games.
Oh, okay.
And the Player 2 controller buttons and whatnot had been, like, forcibly removed. Oh. So you could only play a single player, and...
Yeah. Which makes you wonder, like, what happens if you had the second player? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, so, like, again, adding on to the SCP, like, what if, like, they finally, like, somebody, like, fixes it and, like, adds the second player, and it just fuses the two people together?
Yeah.
Into some horrifying Shogothian, like, mix? Mm-hmm. Another idea I had, actually, just from that, because... a lot of the RPG podcasts I've listened to that have Polybius as their thing, like, on top of using, like, a very supernatural angle, a lot of them don't use the Tempest comparison. They use they just basically, like, come up with their own kind of video game style, or video game, like, idea thing for it. Like, RPPR, the Roleplay Public Radio, they did a Polybius game in Little Fears where they had, it was like Legend of Zelda, like old school Zelda kind of style. Like, we had to, like, there was some boss monsters, and you had to, like, collect them. You had to, like, use items, like magical items, to, like, fight monsters and stuff like that. And then the monsters were coming out of the game because you killed them. Basically, it was the vengeful ghost of characters that you'd killed in a video game was the scenario. And then The Drunk and the Ugly did one for Polybius, where it was a similar thing, but it was more like Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Where you had to, like, go from room to room with a band of adventurers. Mm-hmm. So
they were all calling it Polybius?
Yeah, they all used Polybius because, like, it's weird. Because it's vague enough. Like,
it's space game. I'm pretty sure, as far as I know, it's always referred to that.
It is, but, like, people are allowed to, like, change things up and, like, and just use the title because it's like that, the popular thing. Also, I always find that, like, it is better to use the source material, but, like, find a way to, like, use that source material. Like, if it is by, like, Tempest and, like, that kind of, like, shooter up, like, with the weird graphics and stuff like that, yeah, you'd think there'd be more of a sci-fi bend than, like, they always go for the fantasy bend.
Yeah. Like, if you're going to change it that much, change the name a little bit.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot.
It's kind of like what I did with Pax Phobos. Like, I knew that I wanted to do something like Polybius, but I didn't want to, but because it was as different as it is from the material, I didn't want to just call it Polybius. Mm-hmm. It seems like I think, like, the reason why people do change it up or, like, use, like, a different, like, their own, like, basically come up with their own gameplay for the game is because it is rather, like, aside from that one note, like, it's like Tempest, but that's not in all the versions of the story. Like, I didn't even know that until I did some deep reading of like the entries and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So people probably just saw, it's like, oh, Polybius, like, it's a spooky arcade game that, like, was causing people to have issues in the 80s and then was taken away mysteriously.
So if you're going off on that, then you have to fill in the blanks with everything else.
Exactly, yeah. So it allows for a little bit more...
So it's like Call of Duty, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. God, could you... Oh, God. Anyway, so it allows for, like, more outside-the-box creativity, but it isn't as close to the source material as, like, some people might like.
Yeah.
So the next route that I would take the story is going the Men in Black route, where the arcade unit is actually a alien life support system. and the alien needs human emotions and siphons it from them as you play.
So, psychic vampire.
Yeah.
The word of the day is psychic vampire.
Mm-hmm. And basically, the reason why the Men in Black check is to see how the alien is doing.
So there's like a little tiny alien inside it?
Yeah. Or it's like Mass Effect, where, or it's to pull inspiration from Mass Effect. There is actually there's a mention, and I think there's a quick encounter in the first game where you discover a digital race, like a digital species.
On the moon, I think?
No, not on the moon. That's an AI, a rogue AI.
Oh.
Actually, when it's on the Citadel, you're talking to one of the shadow brokers, like in
Yes.
and you find basically signals and like communication with a race that has completely digitally like transferred their consciousnesses into a ship or like into an internet, basically, like some kind of like network. And so they are completely digital life form. So yeah, have something like that. Like keep it with like the machinery, like Ghost in the Machine kind of thing, but like have it be like an entire sapient species is in this Polybius case as a life support system, and it is using like you said, it's using basically human cognitive reactions when they're playing the game, basically to like as a food source. Like
I think it's creepier that there's actually like a little alien like chained up.
Yeah, well, of course, like, yeah. Like and that's also like that. That's more of a like.
And the screen's like
end,
the screen's like one-way glass.
Oh,
so
God.
He can see you.
Yeah, and he's just so I've come up with this idea for a monster, for an alien species called a cognivore, and basically it's like a vampire. But like they basically
the word of the day.
Yeah, well, basically they eat like mental and thought processes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking like basically have like a cognivore or a psychic vampire.
You have to make a psychic vampire.
Literally, now I'm just doing it just because it's funny.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, have them inside there. Yeah, basically, like the kids, like it has like a screen or something like that, or maybe it's like projecting like a game onto the one-way glass.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So that, or into the person's head, so they think they're playing. That could also. So okay,
do the Kano Cove situation with
exactly,
nothing on screen.
So that would tie into like why like no one's ever actually gotten a full accurate version of the game outside of like memory. Is that whenever somebody's trying to play Polybius, like all the other kids just see them playing them on a black screen, but they see this like fully fleshed out video game.
And that explains why different sources, like some of them it's Legend of Zelda, some of them it's Gauntlet, some of them it's Tempest.
Exactly,
it's like whatever the player wants it to be, essentially.
Yeah, so that could actually be another like could take like.
So if I sat down and played Polybius, it might be like a versus style fighter or something.
Yeah, or a Doom game, like a Doom clone. Mm-hmm. I think it would be interesting, like to try and like use the Tempest like setting and have that kind of bleed into the like the real world. Like maybe you're having dreams where you're on like a space station or like actually I guess it's kind of just like it basically just horrifies the the Last Starfighter plot where like. You're the guy was playing a starship game, like a shooting game, and then he gets recruited by a space agency. But yeah, so going back to what you're saying, yeah, like it's different for everyone, and that's actually part of the transfer system for like it transmits this game imprint onto the person's brain, and then siphons in thought processes, like it's and like maybe it's like hand-eye coordination kind of like thought processes or brain functions that it needs to stay like to sustain itself.
Yeah,
it's actually really like bravo.
And then the reason why the unit was taken was either because the alien got all it needed, so it didn't need to be on life support anymore. Or the alien died because
overdose. Yeah, like it dies of overdose. It just like ate because like the lines were like around the around the arcade.
Yeah,
so that he
can't turn it off. He's plugged into it.
Yeah. Just like and like suddenly on the back of the screen, like it's not seen, but like just like splat.
He explodes.
It just like
purple blood.
Yeah. And then, like, that's when, like the agent's like, what the fuck happened? It's like, he ate too much. It was too popular.
Yeah.
All right, we gotta take this. We gotta shut this down. Quick, grab the other cabinets because there were other cabinets, right? Like,
oh yeah.
It's like quick.
Well, it's him and his family.
Yeah. So like when the first one dies, I'm like, shit, we gotta stop this.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that would actually be an interesting, like, a quirky horror thing, but like from the point of view of like the agents and the aliens who are like helping them. Yeah, I could see that. Oh yeah, and like you said, like you're just like they sustained. Once it's fully sustained, they take it away, and they planned on putting another one, like another member of the race into the system. But then something happened, and it never came back out. Like they never got it back out into the circulation. Mm-hmm. Or maybe that's why they were tinkering with it. Was they were actually secretly, like, covertly, like switching out carnivores.
Oh yeah.
So the last one I have here is Ghost in the Machine, where basically the arcade unit is haunted by a developer that died during development of the game.
Sorry, that was a weird cough. Sorry.
Yeah.
Please
and
continue.
The spirit's actually out for revenge against the company he worked for. So he haunts the machine, inflicting the side effects on anyone who plays it. So, in the idea of making the game less popular, so the company goes under.
Yeah, because basically he's in his own digital hell. Because it's some sensory deprivation. Basically, that is hell to some people, like not having any like chance of your senses. And the only way to get revenge is basically just to transfer that pain and hell to like the minds of the youths that are playing your game. Mm-hmm. I've doubt that. That one's also again and like the story could develop as like some of the kids are trying to figure that out, like trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and discover like that the game company was like the main creator died and stuff like that. So you have this you find out like through the game that like there's a ghost in there trying to like seek vengeance. So you have to either exorcise it or exorcise it.
You don't need a treadmill for this.
No, you know what I mean.
I know.
Well, it'd be the 2019 version of Polybius, where you're on a treadmill and you have to play it.
Oh, God.
That has to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Of course.
But yeah. Yeah, so, Ghost in the Machine, like, the story basically just goes around the mystery of, like, why it's haunted and stuff. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. On to Gamer.
Let's see what I have left. So we were talking about my first one. Actually, before I get into that, where's the start of these? So when I was reading through it, the Polybius wiki article, it mentioned the issue of GamePro, September 2003.
Yeah, the one of the gaming magazines. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And an article in there called "Secrets and Lies," which is
one of our mottos here.
Yeah, it kind of is. But as soon as I heard that it was actually printed, I immediately ran upstairs and dug out my giant box of old game magazines.
Did you see if you had it?
I looked. I did not have that exact one. I wish I would have brought it.
Oh,
yeah. I kind of stopped buying Game Pro around then.
I wonder if you could track that one down.
I have it digitally. I found it digitally.
I was going to say, like, on eBay, you could probably find that copy somewhere.
Probably.
Does it actually have it, though?
Yeah.
The article?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I'll read it to you right now.
Sweet. Yeah.
But before we get into this, what you're basically saying is that this is Baraska, the video game. Because Secrets and Lies.
Yes. At least that part of it.
That's another version of the game, like another interpretation of the game. It's just basically a game version of Nebraska, like kids going up a mountain and like solving mysteries, and then at the end of the day, it's just human trafficking or baby mills and human trafficking.
Totally, that's exactly what it is. I took a screenshot of it, so I have it here.
Holy shit!
There was a couple above it. One of them was like, these are essentially myths, and they're either proving or not. And one of them above it was, does the military use video games to like train soldiers? And essentially, yes.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, and he was talking about how one of them that they used, this isn't completely about this, but whatever. One of them that they use is a mod for Doom 2 or 3 called Marine Doom.
Really?
Where it's like straight up a military simulator in Doom.
Huh.
Where like you you have to like get briefed on what you have to do, and like you go out with your squad and you have to do things.
Oh my god!
But it's actually fun to play, apparently.
So is it like Call of Duty before Call of Duty kind of thing?
Kind of. I'm really curious about it now.
Yeah, we'll have to see, like, look at that up.
Mm-hmm. But either way, this one, it says it's inconclusive, the evidence on it. And I'm actually going to use the other one because it's easier to read compared to my screenshot. There we go. So the legend is that the government made an arcade game that erased kids' memories and gave them horrific nightmares. Fact, inconclusive. Using games for military training is one thing. That's part of the reason I brought it up. Using games for mind control, well, that's something else. But there is a cryptic tale of an arcade game called Polybius that appeared in only a handful of locations in Portland, Oregon in the early 1980s, credited to a company called
Sinesioshin, yeah.
Sure.
Sorry. Any of our German listeners, if you'd like to tell us the proper pronunciation of this mashed up compound word, please let us know.
I'll call it Signs Lotion.
Yeah, it's an I though, it's not an L. It's a capital I.
Is it?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
No, ow, rude.
I'm going to put a lowercase L right next to this, because I copied and pasted this out of something. Lowercase L. It's an L.
Okay, I'm pretty sure it's Iocean, like it's I. But, alright.
Google Translate lotion.
I don't know.
Not now, but later. Regardless. This kind of I guess I don't really need to read it because it's essentially going over
what we talked about.
Yeah, the word means sense deleting. Supposedly, people swore off games for good because of the effects that this had. One owner claimed that black-coated gentlemen would periodically collect game data, stuff like that.
And that's from the article that basically started the craze.
Yes, and this was all printed in an actual magazine.
I think it was later found out by like one of the either Snopes.com guys or like another like people who were like looking in, like were skeptics and like looking into like this, like digging into the truth of it. The basically CoinOps like founder or creator like paid, I think, or there's like a money transfer or some kind of like deal done between them and game and like that magazine to like have that article put up.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. But yeah, it goes on to say that like while a ROM apparently exists, it hasn't been located. Title screen is all anyone has, and people can just Photoshop that and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and it ends with, but still, what if it was true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and that's what gets everybody's mind going on like what like of a. It's what gets people's minds going for like is this actually like a mystery? Is this actually like is Bigfoot real?
Pretty much.
And also like it's like this could be great for like for fodder for like a horror movie or a horror story or video or its own video game. I'm trying to remember because there's something. Oh yeah, the title screen in particular. It's basically the iconic thing about Polybius.
It's on the picture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is funny that the people like were dissecting it for like is this a scam kind of thing or is this just like a hoax kind of thing? It is noted that like the title's text is very similar to CoinOps title or like logo font and stuff like that, and even some other games like Bubble. There's like a Bubble game or something.
It says that in here too. The company's name font is the same one Williams used on several of its games, making cut and paste easy for an aspiring prankster.
Yeah,
is what they say there.
That makes sense. Yeah. Actually, is that magazine like that? You got a PDF, right?
Yeah, the entire magazine.
Is it where can you find it? Because I'll put it in the description.
I meant to write it down.
Well, you can send it to me after like recording. I'll put it in the description.
I think it's Retromags. I think.
Okay,
but either way, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and I'll put it in the description below for anybody who's curious to actually like read basically a piece of horror video game. Creepypasta, urban legend history.
Mm-hmm.
Such a niche history.
Yeah, really.
Cool. So, what's next?
Right. So then, reading on a little bit later, I got to where it says that there's an actual website, and I went to the actual website, and it looks really jank and really simple, as I kind of hoped it would. I hoped it wouldn't be all like nice and clean and like up to date.
Yeah.
It looks like an old website. So that's pretty awesome.
Cool.
But yeah, foolishly I downloaded the game and I seem to have lost my week. But Yeah, that's what happens, I guess.
I think that should be another idea for like a story is like you're a game reviewer, like a content creator kind of thing, and like the story is basically just a transcript of like. I guess I'm basically just like that's kind of just.
You're taking my week and putting it into a creepypasta is what you're doing.
Also ripping off the idea of like that Angry Video Game Nerd did, where he like reviewed the game and then like
that's exactly that.
Literally what he does is but still like make it into a story, like make it story mode, like a story type like style, like media.
Mm-hmm.
Like and actually like write it down, like maybe make it like almost like a video game review blog kind of thing.
Yeah, and
just have each one be like a different blog entry of like playing the game. Like maybe he was playing different games prior, and then starts playing Polybius, and then every article he posts afterward is just Polybius.
Yeah, it becomes an obsession.
Yeah.
Or he starts reviewing some other one. It's like, okay, today we're going to review Bonk's Adventure, and then starts playing Polybius.
He starts talking about Bonk's Adventure, and then it slowly becomes slowly starts becoming obvious that it's just Polybius that he's playing.
Yeah.
And like at the beginning of this like blog entry, or if you make this into a story form, it's blog entries. Have like kind of a blurb. It's like the following is shortly before video game review blogger 95. Started playing Polybius and like reviewing it, and these are the transcripts. Like beforehand, he'd been running a fairly decent, like basically give some information about the blog before it went nuts.
Yeah.
Just to kind of if you want to make it into a story and not just do like a full immersion level and just have like actually start a blog.
Yeah.
And like review a couple video games first and then start up Polybius. And
that is the best way to do it.
That would be straight up ARG levels.
Yeah.
Like that is.
You do an entire year of reviewing video games,
and then
you drop it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you do an entire year of all like Polybius focused.
Yeah, exactly. That would be like, oh god, I kind of want one of us to do that. And by one of us, I mean you.
Because you're looking directly at me. Yeah.
Like, I kind of want somebody to do that, because that's basically like the Sin Eater experience is like kind of thing.
Seed Eater?
Seed Eater, Sin Eater. The Seed Eater's experiences where it's like, where it was a blog entry of just collected stories, and then eventually like had like a vlog, like a small vlog thing to it, like, or at least video entries.
Yeah, I think it did.
Mm-hmm. And then it just eventually ended. But yeah, just do that. Like, just have like a full year of just like starting this like video game blog just to see like just like as prep work.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's
just
again,
to set up the punchline.
Again, in the vein of like Everyman Hybrid, where like they started the first 10 entries was literally just them being like how to get fit on a budget.
Yeah,
like it was supposed to be like this like amateur like fitness YouTube channel, and then they slowly added Slenderman in, and then by the 10th entry. Slenderman, it was revealed that this is actually just a Slender vlog.
Yeah.
God, I love that. Like, that level of immersion, like, would be amazing. But
that's what always gets me in stories. Like, whether it's a video game, a movie, a creepypasta, if it has really good immersion, then it sells me on it. If it's got crap immersion, doesn't matter how creepy the monster looks, it's not scary, because I can't get in the...
You can't get into the head of the character, yeah.
For sure. But anyway, moving on to the ones that I actually prepared here. For what I've prepared with Polybius here.
I will say, like bringing up the magazine, like that was pretty good. Like I was not expecting you to pull up the actual article from the actual magazine that you found.
Yeah, like, I had to do a little bit of digging to find it, but it was fun to do that. And like I downloaded this weird this weird file type. It's like
CR or something?
CRZ or something.
Oh yeah, that's isn't like an.
It's a comic reader thing.
Yeah.
And like I had to download this other program, and when I tried to install it, it's like you have to install this antivirus and this like YouTube or this Yahoo search engine thing. I'm like, no, fuck you. So I went in, I had to Google how to switch the file extension. Found a YouTube video, just make it a RAR and extract it, and you have all the pictures there. And it worked.
Yeah, I just like how like all of us like did like kind of a separate, like a different deep dive. Like I found that Publius enigma.
Yes.
I'd never heard of it until I read the wiki article, and then I read it and I was like, what the fuck? And it's like And it's still a thing that's like, it's still got like a small cult following of like, people are still trying to figure out what the hell this message was from this Led Zeppelin album. And then you found something. I know you found something. I can't remember it though. I have amnesia from the game. I didn't even play the game. I just watched some videos of it. I feel like you found something else that was like different from from either of us. I can't remember what it was though.
We're all affected by amnesia.
Oh my god!
You guys are getting a contact sickness.
Yeah, contact illness. Yeah. It's a mimetic virus. It's spreading.
Mwahaha. Moving on. So,
anyway,
the second dish I've made with Polybius is MIB focused, like kind of how yours was, Mikey. But mine essentially to make a story about being one of the Men in Black guys. Not as a bad guy or anything, but it's like, this is your job. You don't know why your bosses want you to do this, but you gotta go do it.
Just kind of like a G-Man or like an SCP like agent, basically. Like.
Kind of, yeah. And like through the messed up events that you're seeing on the kids, you do a little digging around back at base and you find out some kind of horrible truth, which ends up getting you axed in the end.
Yeah. I know that like some people did try to like kind of not like deep to the core of this, of like the thing, but I know some people who have like used Polybius have tried to like link it to like MK Ultra, which is an actual like government conspiracy where they were basically giving soldiers LSD and like as an experiment to see like if it like made them better at like fighting and combat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, soldiers on drugs is not always a good idea. Or like also like doing like mind games, like so basically like taking in like public, like basically like putting stuff in the water for putting stuff in the water of like populations to see what happens.
Seems like a big move.
Again, like kind of stems from the idea from Polybius, where like a social they were conducting social experiments on people with this cabinet.
Pretty much. And speaking of cabinet, my next dish I've made with Polybius is focused around the arcade owner. All of mine are essentially switching the perspective to see how it kind of could change it. And through the perspective of the arcade owner, the owner has to be seeing all the weird shit that's happening.
That would be I like that idea. Like, okay, that's the angles. Like, yeah, that is like we all kind of brought something different to the table here.
Yes,
we all have our own takes on these dishes. Could you imagine just like you've been having all these like these kids that like you recognize, like they come in and day out on weekends and like during summer and stuff like that, and then to have like all this shit happen, like that would be horrific in itself. Like like that, one of those arcade managers, because even like not even from an emotional point of view of like you know these kids, like from an economic point of view, like you're going to lose money because like people are now afraid to go to your arcade.
Yeah, in the aftermath, yeah. But yeah, like he's seen both perspectives of the addicted gamers and the MIB showing up and all that. Like maybe to a point where his own kid's addiction and craziness, it was the push that he needed to get rid of the game. And like spread the word to get everyone else to get rid of it,
like it
regardless of the money he's making.
Turned out it wasn't actually a government like op to like got rid of them. It was actually just a bunch of like concerned citizens who owned arcades that just like they just discreetly removed it and got rid of it somewhere. So like it's somewhere. It's like the ET cartridges in the middle of middle of the desert. They just like buried these like arcade cabinets in the middle of like Portland or in the middle of Oregon somewhere.
That was also in the Secrets and Lies section.
Is it
that part? Yeah. It's like, is there actually a whole bunch of Atari things buried in the desert? Yes. Yes, there is. Because they're bad.
Yeah, that game was so bad.
I know, I've seen a couple of reviews.
Pretty bad. But moving on to my last dish I've made, which is focused on the game dev. Where, essentially, unknown game dev story and their, like, struggles of putting the game together. Sort of like The Princess.
It's also kind of like... The Mr. Roach guy said that he was a programmer of Polybius, like
yes,
kind of like taking that angle, like because
putting him as the focus,
and using that as the telling his story basically, like maybe like an interviewer kind of thing.
Like if this is a game that's from Germany, even though it's probably not because the name isn't perfect.
Apparently, somebody made I think the creators of the 2007 one. They actually went to Texas and made Sinus Ocean like as a copyrighted like company name and stuff like that, so that they could like kind of make it as authentic as possible. So like it's basically an American company that was probably like just used a German name.
It is, but theoretically it could be an entirely German operation situation. But maybe the devs were civilians that were captured by the German government and put into this weird, and like forced to put this weird game together with all the subliminal messages and all that. So maybe it's like a German game experiment?
Add on to that.
Yeah, I'll see myself out.
No, I'm with you on this. Yeah. It's not a... not like specifically German, as in like from Germany, like at the time of the 80s. It's neo-Nazis, or it's like Nazis who survived in like South America or something like that. Mm-hmm. They started up a company and like a game company as an experiment to continue on their mind games from World War II.
There you go.
So you got like the Nazi conspiracy. So,
yep. I was trying to make a Russian sleep experiment.
I know you did.
A joke.
Yeah, I got that.
I figured it'd be
I think the audience
I figured it'd be
that.
terrible. That's why I wrote down, haha, I'll see myself out after I wrote that down.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It was actually a game to start World War III, but the government caught on, which is why they're checking it out so frequently.
Yes. Or it could be part of Project Paperclip, where the Americans, after World War II, the Americans grabbed as many German scientists as they could from and made them American citizens.
Yeah.
So they could run experiments and projects on there. So it could still be within America and just be like old Nazi technology or techniques. Mm-hmm. Man, we've
Germans, Americans together.
Wow. I do feel like we've kind of like covered the board of like scary culinary story ideas for this, because like we got like mutated powers and like tech and like weird like things affecting the player and like where are they now kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, and on either side of that, if they're the people like the protagonist or if they're the antagonist of the story, we've got. The machine did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
The machine's just trying to be the machine. Mm-hmm. Just trying to live its life to the fullest.
Alien life support.
Yeah, alien life support thing. And
Goes
then
to the machine.
And then life as a government agent trying to deal with this bullshit, or
pretty much
all the people around the arcade that's trying to deal with this bullshit,
or the journal of what it was like to actually make the game as the game dev.
Yeah,
and all the fucked up things that can happen.
Yeah, because maybe it was something like there's something like
through the neo-Nazi World War III prep situation.
Well, that, or if it's just like a regular dev, like who's just stumbled upon some kind of like in the process of making a game for the Atari, like for an arcade cabinet, has inadvertently like stumbled upon something, or like something like corrupted, or like came in like some X factor has showed up into the game that he didn't expect, like some anomalous thing that has made the game like corrupted or supernatural or evil. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, is there anything else that we want to say about Polybius outside of the kitchen?
Is it cool?
Yeah, is it cool? Yeah. Do you guys think it's worth the rep it has for like kind of being like the grandfather of like video game creepypasta and urban legends?
I kind of think it does, because with how little that's actually there, it still like tells enough of a story to the point that we've been talking for X minutes.
Yeah, we've been running our mouths for about an hour and a half almost on this. Yeah, like I totally agree. I'm also like as somebody who likes to see like the origins of folklore and like legends and stuff like that, I'm kind of blown away at how this just caught fire. Like it really is a testament to like the power of memes and like viral marketing.
Yeah.
Because like this was somebody had to put like pick up that this game doesn't exist from like a listing of video game catalog, right? Like from their from CoinOp's website.
Oh.
Somebody had to just have noticed that and then have that spread. And then add on to the fact that like the GamePro magazine was asked to like do this article for it, and that like just helped get it into the mass media. It's kind of like how Slender, the Slender, the 8 Pages video game, kind of brought Slenderman to the mass media for better or worse. But like just the power of like internet community and viral spreading. It really is kind of in itself like kind of a mundane mimetic virus in how it spread across like different medias,
pretty much,
and platforms. I think it's obvious that like I still like love Polybius as an idea for a game and for fodder for stories and like scenario stuff. I mean, hell, I've used it multiple times as the inspiration for different scenarios that we've run in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Mm-hmm. Mikey, how do
he's been nodding.
Yeah, he's been nodding
mm-hmm, quietly.
Yeah, maybe speak in this audio podcast.
Well, the information that's there is interesting. I would like more, but then at the same time, the vagueness of it allows people to take it and run with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and that's where like external like stories and creepypastas kind of come in to fill in the gaps, right? Mm-hmm. Like kind of almost like the expanded universe kind of nature, where you get to like you have people with different ideas on the same like subject and just like go with that and like make their own stories or make their own content essentially to fill in gaps.
Mm-hmm. Like basically the seed of Polybius is so interesting that just us three, we came up with what, like 10, 12 maybe different styles?
Yeah, again, less than an hour and a half worth of ideas. For probably less than an hour's worth of like ideas and talking about like at least 10 different angles you could attack this from for creepypasta or like creepy short story fodder.
And I didn't even put that much time into writing mine because all of my notes are circa this morning.
Mine were mostly from last night, to be honest. Like I read through the articles last night, and like I already had kind of a pre-established archive in my head on Polybius. Like I had pre-established like knowledge of Polybius from like all the media I've consumed of it from other like podcasts and from other sources. So it was nice to like, I still found new stuff in it in that article, like to leech off of like again the Publius. Yeah, the Publius enigma. Like I'd never heard of that before reading that article. It was interesting to hear like how Polybius actually got. I didn't realize it was actually as recent as 2000 was its inception. Mm-hmm. I thought it might have been from like the 90s at least.
Yeah,
but
not so much.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to see how like again like I like that idea of I like seeing how something develops. Like it's kind of like the Dogman of Michigan. It started off as a radio broadcast and a song that the radio station made just for shits and giggles, and people started piling in letters and mail to the studio about sightings of a creature that doesn't fucking exist.
Or does it?
But people like really latched on to this creature that was in a song that a folk song that the radio station made, to the point where they like it built such a huge following and a cult following of like sightings and stuff. It's like almost kind of like witnessing the development and creation of a fictional like cryptid or like life form. Mm-hmm. And the same thing goes with Polybius. Like it's we over the last almost 20 years we've seen the inception of a staple in like urban legend lore. Like not just outside of creepypastas. Like when you ask somebody about Polybius, sometimes they'll know it. Oh, it's some urban legend about a video game. Like it's been referenced in The Simpsons. It's been referenced in multiple other movies and TV shows like that have arcades. Yeah. I'm actually surprised. I don't think it's in Wreck-It Ralph, but I was very surprised. I was looking for it in that.
What is kids' movies?
No, but they still throw in Easter eggs.
Yeah, just a Polybius cabinet in the back.
I think it might have been, but I can't remember if that's just. I'm not sure if that's just a false memory of just me wanting to insert it in there.
Yeah. Possibly
like a hallucination.
Yeah, like I think it was even. I think it might have even been in Stranger Things, but again, I'm not sure. Because they had a creepy arcade in that one as well. Mm-hmm. But regardless, like it's been in a bunch of other things, like because as Easter eggs for like So, yeah. It's cool.
It's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Mike. All right, well, I guess that's it for this episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below. It's posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. We're on iTunes, so leave us a rating and review. Let's help spread like a mimetic virus as well.
Like a psychic vampire. Got one more in, even though it didn't make sense.
Yes. You can also talk to us on Twitter. Mikey's at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow without the W, because he has too long of a name.
Yep.
And I'm at Review Cultist. You can also leave us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show. If you'd like to help support the show, you can go to Patreon. Look up Al Dente Rigamortis and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have extra episodes, early access, special content, and to our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you guys immensely. As always, we very much appreciate it. Helping keep those hosting bills at bay. To our listeners and the authors of these stories and tellers of these urban legends, thank you immensely. Because seriously, without you guys, we really wouldn't have a show, regardless of, or like either with your listenership or your authorship. Like, it really means a lot that you're listening and that you're writing these stories so that we can talk about them. Thank you. So until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Happy Halloween! Sleep well.